analytics in Syracuse.
Oh, shit. Oh,
They do it and sports team scholarship. There. Well, he's gotten several different ones. I'm not sure if that's in that field yet. It's like driving a Lamborghini over a cliff every year. Oh, it's so expensive. Let's see.
Good morning. Hello. Good, how are you?
Safe. Yeah, thank you. It's not easy. No, for them. Right. You know, whatever it is. I mean, you know, when they go in and they try to major and what that. So we'll see, you know, it's very exciting.
Four that were invited. And I looked at the humor.
Floor?
A blur.
Oh,
I thought you said floor. It went by me so fast. I said, who was it? I had to hold the dog back and chase him.
I was waiting for a plumber to call because we had and called, and I said, okay, I can be home in 10 minutes.
And you were excited.
And I thought, okay, better start running now, because I run and walk and run and walk.
Ran over two people. I saw it.
I don't know which sound is loud, but
You know, have my back. Maybe he's chasing me. Started showing. I don't know that. Garden television.
Oh, who is the garden poet? Garden poet, you want to identify yourself?
you close it.
Yes, not.
So you can be more in the.
That's me. Oh. You're on the wall. I'm on the
I
wall.
thought that was an old name of somebody.
Right.
Mine's iPhone. Make the connection. He's better off. Because we got the tax and everything and stuff. Still problematic, it's much better than that. Okay, we've got our minion. The minion about having to count the one sitting out. Right.
2 minutes. 2 minute warning. Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We have our own version of the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
We have our version of the 2-minute warning.
That was it.
Actually,
Tully warning. 2 minute Tully warning.
I don't know. But they postponed it last year because of COVID, so they didn't. So they're going to Cancun this year, but it's really their 51st anniversary this year. a curious one. It always comes out in this square.
Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. We are going to begin our service. Welcome to all of you, far and wide. If you have not yet put on a talit, we will do this together. Please rise and we'll say the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehit atef batzitzit. And you may be seated, and our service begins, as you know, on page 14, as we set the mood for prayer with the singing of some psalms. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, umelo, oh, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, umelo, oh, Hoshea et amecha, Varech et nachlatecha, Ureim, 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 Venasei, Mar ha'olam, Hoshea et amecha, Uvarech et nachlatecha, Ureim, 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 Venasei, Mar ha'olam. Mizmor, Mizmor, Shir, Shir Liyom HaShabbat. 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 Mizmor, Shir, Shir Liyom HaShabbat. Mizmor, Shir, Shir Liyom HaShabbat. Tzadik katamar yifrach, yifrach, tzadik katamar yifrach, tzadik katamar yifrach, yifrach, tzadik katamar yifrach. Ki erez balvanon yiske, ki erez balvanon yiske, ki erez balvanon yiske, yiske. Ki erez balvanon yiske, ki erez balvanon yiske. Erez balvanon yiske yiske. Mi kolot mayim, mayim rabim adirim, mishpareyam, adir bamarom Adonai. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Lots of us without video.
Malchutecha, Malchut kol olamim, Memshatecha, Bechol edor vador. Malchutecha, Malchut kol olamim, Memshatecha, Bechol edor vador. Malchutcha, Malchut kol olamim, Memshatecha, Bechol edor vador. Malchutcha, Malchut kol olamim, Memshatecha, Bechol edor. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה, 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 הללויה. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה, 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 הללויה. Hallelujah, hallelujah, b'tziltzalei shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, b'tziltzalei trua. Kol anshama de hallelujah, hallelujah, kol anshama de hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. We rise. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. We're on page 16. El Adon al kol hama'asim baruch u'mavorach b'figo neshama gadlo v'tuvo malei olam da'at t'vuna sovevi moto המתגאה על חיות הקודש, ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומישור לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם, בדעת בבינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומבקים נוגה, נאה זיום בכל העולם, שמחים דשאתם דששים בבואם, עושים בהם הרצון קונם. פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אורה והיא צורת הלבנה. שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, צרפים ויופנים וחיות הקודש. לה 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 יה לה 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 יה לה 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 יה לה 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 יה לה 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 Or Chadashat Zion Ta'ir V'nizkechu lanu meira le'arot. Or Chadashat Zion Ta'ir V'nizkechu lanu meira le'arot. Baruch Ata Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. Ava Rava Atanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem Lagidol Avitera Amata Aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Bavur Avoteinu Shebatchu V'cha Avinu Malkeinu Vatil Lamdeim Chukei Chayim Kein Techanein Ulamdeinu Avinu Avarachaman Amrachem Rachem Aleinu Ketein B'libeinu Lehavinu Lahaskil Lishmo Alel Modu Lelamed Lishmor Velasod Ulkayem Net Kol Divrei Talmud Torah Techa B'Yava Ve'ha'ereneinu v'toratecha ve'dahabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha ve'yachel levaveinu le'ahava ul'ira et shemecha ve'lo nevosh le'olam va'et ve'lo nevosh le'olam Gadol v'hanora batachnu nagila v'nismecha v'shuatecha. We gather our tzitzit together. V'havinu l'shalom b'yabakan fota aretz v'tolichenu kumim v'liyasein d'kelpo yeshuot ata uvanu v'chartam b'kolam v'lashon b'kerev tanu l'shimcha hagadol sala be'emet L'hodot lecha u'liachetcha b'yahava baruch ata Adonai habocher b'yamo Yisrael b'ahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meyodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha vidibar tabam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uvelechtecha v'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha ukeshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchetavetam Al mizuzo beitecha uvisharecha The Lord said to Moses, speak to the children of Israel and bid them to make tzitzit in the corners of their garments throughout their generations, putting upon the tzitzit of each corner a thread of blue. When you look upon the tzitzit, you will be reminded of all the commandments of the Lord and obey them. You will not be led astray by the inclination of your heart or by the attraction of your eyes. Thus will you be reminded to fulfill all my commandments and be consecrated to your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I, the Lord, am your God. Alzot, shibachu ahuvim, shibachu ahuvim. Veromemu, 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 veromemu el. Venatenu, venatenu yedidim. Venatenu, venatenu yedidim. Zemirot shirot v'hetish bachot berachot v'hodaot lemelech el chai v'kayam ram v'nisa gadol v'nora mashbil geim umagbi ashefalim Motzi asiri mufode anavim v'yozer dalim v'yoneleam o v'yet shavam elav tehilo le'el elyon baruch hu mevarach Moshe u'vnei Yisrael lechan v'shira b'simcha rabah v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar bakodesh nora tehilot osefele. Shira chadasha shebechu geulim l'shim falsvar hayam yachad kulam haduvim lichu v'yamaru Adonai yimloch leolam dva'en. We're going to pause for sharing. This is Memorial Day weekend, and our gratefulness is certainly to those who gave of their lives in the defense of this country. And so we especially look at the American flag over there, and we remind ourselves of the freedoms that it represents and that people fought and died for. So we appreciate the sacrifices that were made. Who would like to now also share what you are thankful for or grateful for? Clara. Yeah, if you wanted to come up with this doesn't stretch.
Okay. Oh, like this? Oh, first of all, I'm sure we all appreciate that Helga just took it upon herself to do the kiddush and all, but so she had family business today, so she isn't here. I'm grateful for a number of things. For one thing, our daughter that's in the state of Washington just got over her second bout of COVID, even though she had shots, and it was a little different. So maybe it was a different kind of a bug. And then my granddaughter and her significant other who live in Davis, California, they just got it. I'm grateful that they've had shots. And Lou and I are grateful that he is about to have some surgery that will make him more comfortable on Tuesday. And that's about it.
Thank you, Claire. And thank you for coming in and setting up for our kiddush. Who else would like to share what you are thankful for? Judy.
I'm very thankful that I was able to see my friend Debbie last Sunday. She has very bad leukemia, but she was just in a point in her chemo where we were able to see each other. So that was lovely.
Thank you, Judy. Who else would like to share what you are thankful for? Well, get Mike, please, right here. Sure.
I have a couple of weeks that I've been looking forward to for a while. My niece and her husband, who I haven't seen in 7 or 8 years, are coming here. And then we have a big family reunion in Las Vegas. So I won't be here in 2 weeks for the service. But we are all looking forward to that.
That's all right. You'll be making money for the shul. So, well,
Well, I'm thankful. My daughter-in-law, after many years of studying, finally got a degree and got a job at Stanford University. So that's good. I'm thankful. A couple of weeks ago, I was on an organization retreat and we had 12 of us had a great Shabbat service, actually, including grape juice and a challah. So that worked out well. And I'm grateful I finally saw Bonnie once again running the streets of Woodland Hills.
yes, boars running the streets. Right. Ray.
Okay, first of all, I'm grateful that we're here. It's so nice to see all of you look so much better in person, but we love that also. We're grateful for a couple of things. First of all, Renee was here last week for 5 days. We picked her up and it was just so nice to have her and just, to hang out together, get together with Simone and her husband and Emma. And the other thing is Jordan is graduating college and he did in 4 years from Southern Oregon University. It's actually 2 weeks from today, so I won't be here then. And we're just looking forward to all wonderful things. And I'd also like to say, Rabbi, it may sound strange to say, I am so happy that you're going to continue as a rabbi, even though you're retiring from your day job. We promise to keep you busy. Okay.
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. Who else would like to share what you are thankful for? Bonnie.
I'm thankful that Yael and Gavi are graduating from high school on Thursday and going on to college. And I'm grateful that Evan is graduating from the 6th grade at Valley Beth Shalom, and he will be starting Milken in the fall. So that's very exciting. And I'm grateful that David is also graduating from D Toledo.
Well, not with honors, unfortunately, but that is true. With gratitude, maybe not honors, but thank you. We're going to have now Stan Schroeder, please. Oh, yes, I forgot. Yes, if you are on screen and you would like to share, please go ahead and raise your hand. And then, so Clara, please go ahead and unmute.
Okay, now. Well, last Sunday, we had a family dinner at Myrna's. And we were all there. 6 family members got exposed to COVID because our great-granddaughter came down with symptoms on Tuesday. So we assumed that 2 days prior, she might have been a carrier. And we've been kind of living from day to day. And so far, none of the 6 of us has come down with it. So maybe we avoided it. And Maddie had a very mild case, just like a bad cold. And so she's recovering nicely. And so I'm very thankful that we dodged the bullet so far. So I guess close to a week without symptoms, maybe we're in the clear.
Wow, thank you. Who else on Zoom would like to share what you are thankful for? Go ahead and wave and I'll call on you. Anybody else?
Janet says, can you?
So Janet says, but we lost Janet.
Janet, can you chat in the, write something in the.
Okay, I did it on chat, she said. So now. I have to
Okay.
find chat.
That's right. I got chat here. All right. So everybody can look up here and you can see the chat. Janet says that we're thankful to have my husband here with me and each day is getting better. And Phyllis says, I'm especially thankful for Zoom services. Very nice. Thank you. Anybody else on chat would like to? Let's close that. Okay, anybody else would like to share what you are thankful for before we get to Stanley? All right, Stan Schroeder, please share.
As probably all of you, okay, all of you here know, and many of us or you on Zoom, but not only that, I'm now talking into the future because this is being recorded and who knows what's going to. So all of us are. I do have the pleasure and honor of talking about what I'm thankful for. These many years, I've been thankful for the people that came before me and made this world what it is for me. Certainly Congregation Shir Ami, what the war spans have done and what we've done for each other is very important. On a personal note, our granddaughter from England, Sarah, is visiting here in Los Angeles, actually in the Valley here, staying with my sister in West Hills. And she brought her almost 5-year-old son, my great grandson, George, and we have them for the week until Thursday. And it's a pleasure and certainly a very big blessing. So grateful for that. On a more, let's say, a universal note, certainly on a Jewish note, we are coming up, starting tonight, in the holiday of Yom Yerushalayim. We're also, the next day, of course, is going to be, on Monday, it's going to be Memorial Day, an important holiday, but want to talk a bit about Yom Yerushalayim because it's happened in our lifetime, and we have a quote unified, although I don't know how much it is at these days, city of Jerusalem and the state of Israel. And what's happening actually there while we speak, it's already well into the night. And here's what they do. The City of David invites you to come and watch its flagship show, Hallelujah, during Jerusalem Week. The show presents a spectacular light show projected with groundbreaking technology on top of the antiquities, telling the story of Jerusalem's revival. There's a musical tour of the family from the Menachem Begin Heritage Center. There's that Ammunition Hill, which is one of the historic sites of the Six-Day War, invites you to, so that are there. The purpose of the event to reminisce and share the story of soldiers who became the liberators of Jerusalem. Important holiday, and we celebrate it in a more, let's say, biblical sense with reading Psalms. And one of them says, "Our feet were standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. The built up Jerusalem is like a city that was joined together within itself," from Psalms 122. And Halal is also cited on Yom HaTzmaut. The reason for that is because it, in tradition, is recited on Hanukkah. And there was a miracle of Hanukkah that we recite Halal for. And these are the miracles, the creation of the state of Israel, the reunification of Jerusalem, miracles in our day. So I want to conclude with a poem. Not a surprise, probably. Jerusalem of old and new. Yom Yerushalayim in Hebrew, in English it's Jerusalem Day, the capital of modern Israel new, and a biblical land toward which we pray. On this day, Jews celebrate our victory of the Six-Day War, a step toward a Jewish state with our holy sites once more. The Western Wall of ancient stone, the foundation for the Mount, Jews from everywhere now intone, placing notes to God too many to count. I myself am truly blessed to visit many a year, always leaving more impressed with the land that I hold dear. A land with many types of Jews, some more observant and some less, expressing differing political views, how to succeed through the next mess. Naomi Shammer wrote this great song called Jerusalem of Gold about the city for which Jews long, remembering her in days of old. After June 7th and the old city reborn, the concluding verse was added. A blast echoed from a ram's horn. God's people had succeeded. I went to Jerusalem 2017 in June, the Shalom Hartman Institute for an intensive week. The realization of Naomi Shemer's tune, knowledge and inspiration I did seek. Now, after 55 difficult years, lifetime of struggle it seems, years of joy and years of tears, rebuilding Jerusalem of our dreams. Now our embassy has made its home in this Jerusalem of new, a step in the road, the end of this poem, in the prayers I pray as a Jew. Thank you. And one more thing while I'm here. I want to put in a plug for the Shir Notes. Many of you know, and those who get it through email, that I've also been the editor publisher of the Shir Notes for many a year. And it's already been sent out by email. There's an article, I want to say on page 4, and it's about the, somewhat about the honors that Rabbi Vorspan got from De Toledo High School, and a glimpse of the past that you may not have read yet. Anyway, a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3, Rabbi Vorspan wrote an article for the school paper there about him and Bonnie and how they got together, and just a short article. So I reprinted that article, and it contained a picture of them dancing in their dancing days. And we celebrate you, both of you.
That was lovely. Thank you, Stan. By the way, you reminded me that the Six-Day War, the reunification of Jerusalem, was in 1967. 2 years after that, I ended up in Jerusalem for a year to study for the rabbinate. And when I got to the Kotel, it was very, very different than it is today. There was hardly anybody there. At night, there might be a few people because the tradition was never to leave the Kotel alone and isolated. And I spent many, many hours walking along the Temple Mount above, seeing the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. And there were very few people up there as well. I had free reign to go anywhere I wanted. Took lots and lots of pictures. I hadn't done any of the excavation of the old city yet. And in fact, after they did it years and years later, I went back to the slides that I took that year, and I discovered that there are many areas, including the Cardo, if any of you are familiar with Jerusalem, they had just begun to excavate, to discover this underground passageway where they've created a mall, essentially. And so for Yom Yerushalayim, you reminded me, I'm going to go and take a look at some of those slides again and have a chance to re-experience what it used to be, and hope that someday that reunification will exist in a much more concrete way today. But thank you, Stan. So please rise. We're going to have an opportunity now to offer our own private prayers of thankfulness. Sur Yisrael, Akuma Be'ezrat Yisrael, Ufedei Chinumeha Yehuda Be'Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai Tzbaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai. Yisrael. We continue quietly. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la la, la 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 la. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Oh, say shalom, 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 mimrom avuya, aseh shalom, aleinu. Oh, say shalom, 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 mimrom avuya, aseh shalom, aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru Amen. Please be seated. Yikadav yikadash shemei Rabbah. V'yomadi brachiru tevi v'michmachu tevi chayichonu v'yomeichonu v'chayiduchu beit Yisrael b'agalav izman kari v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach. Lam Leo Meo Maya Yitbarach Yitbarach Vishtabach Vitpar Vitrama Midase Vit Hadar Vit Alivit Al Shemedi Kudisha Brechu Leila Miko Bechatafishurata Tushbachatav Nechmata Damiram Dioma Vimaru Amen Titikabel Tzadhon Vadhon Israel Kadam Avon Vishmai Vimaru Amen Yeshlam Rabba Mitchamayim V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimaru Amen Hoseh Shalom Dimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimaru Amen. We've come to our Torah service. Let's give out some honors. Who would like the honor of leading us in the prayers and carrying the Torah through the congregation? Michael, thank you. Who would like the honor of Hagba? Armand and the Galila wrapping Ray. Very nice. We continue our service then on the middle of page 19. Ein kamocha ba Elohim Adonai v'ein kemasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha bechol dor vador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, Adonai oz li'amo yitei, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Av harachamim eitiv avirtzonecha Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Kevecha levad batachnu Melech el ram v'nisa Adon olamim Vayehi binso Aaron Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai Mirushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael Bigdushato Be'anarachet Velishmei Kadisha Kadisha Yakira Anamartush Bechan Be'anarachet Be'anarachet Velishmei Kadisha Kadisha Yakira Anamartush Bechan Yehe Ravakadamach Tiftach libi bioraita v'tashlim v'shalim delibi v'adechol amach Yisrael v'tach Amen.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlu Adonai Iti, Unaroma Mo Shemo Yachdav.
Lecha Adonai Hagedula v'Hagevura v'Hatiferet v'Hanesach v'Hahod Kiko b'Shamayim nuvaret Kiko b'Shamayim nuvaret Lecha Adonai Hamamlacha v'Hamid Nase Lechol Erosh Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion, Ki mitzion, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion, Ki mitzion. Mitzion Tetzei Torah. You're never gonna miss it. So the reason that Bonnie was able to find the correct reading is because it's the very last reading of Vayikra, of Leviticus. And so you can see that there's a big space here, which means that she is going. So she is going to be reading the last verses. Thank you. And then we are going to say the word. If you want to come up and see a little closer, and then we are all going to be saying the words chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, which means strength, strength, let us strengthen one another. So let us begin by having our aliyah. Please point with your talit or your finger right there. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach li'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Masar bakar vaton kol asher ya'avor tachat hashavet iri yiyeh kodesh ladonai lo yivater bat b'nei
He's trying to tell the rabbi to put the mic by her. Mike easily tried.
Oh, Yimi Renu V'im Hamer Yimi Renu V'hayahu V'vit Meruto Ye Kodesh Lo Yigael Ele HaMitzvot Asher Tiva Adonai Et Moshe El Bnei Yisrael Bahar Sinai.
Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. And let's say the bracha, the second bracha, point and kiss. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten Torah. Yes, please be seated. Bechukotai, that's the name of the Torah portion, Bechukotai. And it is a very, very painful Torah portion for any of you who might have read it, because it contains what is known as the Tochacha, or the admonition. This is the terrible consequences of what will befall the Israelite nation if they don't follow in the paths of God. There are warnings here to the Jewish people. If we don't keep the teachings of the Torah, we're going to have drought and disease and war and exile. It's a horrible passage. It's unpleasant to read. It's unpleasant to hear. In most congregations where this portion is read, it's read sotto voce. It's read very quietly, almost silently. People, it's very, very painful to read of the consequences of the kind of behavior that people might live. And so the congregation sits and they just listen quietly and silently. But it doesn't comprise all of the Torah portion. In fact, the beginning of the Torah portion are all the rewards that the Israelites, that the Jews are going to receive, the blessings of plenty and health and victory and enjoyment of the divine presence. So what does it mean? How are we supposed to understand this? Well, first we have to understand the way in which treaties were conducted in ancient days. There was something that was known as the ancient vassal treaty. And the vassal treaty was made by powerful kings with their vassals, the ones that they were supposed to protect. And so it usually had this kind of a format. It began by citing the benefits that the king would bestow upon his vassals should they follow his rules. It also includes what the vassal has to give to the king in return. And then the punishments is a third part of the treaty. And it talks about if the vassal should violate any of the agreement, then these are going to be the consequences. So now we turn then to the consequences that we have in our Torah portion. These are the warnings. And the question is, what kind of punishments are these? Well, we see that it includes famine and starvation, plagues, illness, cannibalism, war, drought. What kinds of rewards were mentioned at the beginning of the Torah portion? Rain in its due season, crops, good seasons of food. And the question is, what kinds of rewards are these? And the answer is they're material rewards. So it seems logical then to the ancient mind, what are they going to be most concerned with? They are going to be concerned with the world and what the world was going to help to provide for them. Go into any continent in the world and you would ask people, what do you want? And the answer is going to be that we want food and we want rain and we want crops and we want freedom from our enemies and so on. But the medieval Jewish mind had a different construct.
the medieval Jewish mind viewed rewards and punishments differently. And they wanted to know, the rabbis, why is it that all of these rewards are material and why are there no spiritual rewards? Now, it's perhaps because I realized that at the point of life that Jews, even though they were holy, it didn't matter because life was so cruel and painful that what they really needed was freedom from the enemy. It was food. It was the ability to overcome the struggles that they had to endure just in life. And so where the psalmist in the Bible could say, Na'ar hayiti v'gam zakanti v'lo ra'iti tzadik nezav v'zaro mevakesh lachem. Once I was young and now I am old, and I have never seen a righteous man forsaken or his children begging for bread. By the time you get to the Middle Ages, you find that when they were saying that sentence in the Birkat Hamazon after meals, they would also say that very quietly. Because what if there is a poor man whose children are begging for bread, who overhears you saying that's not going to happen and says, I am being personally affected by this. How dare you taunt me with these words? And in fact, where the Bible says that if you follow certain commandments, your reward might even be long life, by the Talmudic period, 2,000 years ago, it becomes a very, very different issue. So you all know the very famous story, but I'll remind you of the son and the father walking down the street, and they come, remember, to the tree, and the tree is a bird's nest. In the bird's nest are eggs, and the mother sitting on the eggs, and the son says, Father, can I get the eggs? And the father says, yes, but remember what it says in the Torah, you have to shoo the mother bird away before you get the eggs. That's part of a series of laws in the Torah called Tzar Baalei Chayim, which is respect for the animal kingdom. And so the boy says, I will honor you, Father, by doing exactly that. And he climbs up the tree, goes out on the limb, shoos the mother bird away, and in the process of reaching out for the eggs, falls out of the tree, breaks his neck, and dies. Now, apparently, there were some rabbis on a hill overlooking the scene. And the man whose son just died now looks and sees the rabbis and goes up to them and says, will you explain to me what just happened here? My son, in fulfilling the only two commandments in the entire Torah, the reward of which is long life. What are the two? Honor your father and your mother. And the boy did that. And shoo the mother bird away when you reach for the eggs. The reward in the Torah is long life. And he says to the rabbis, his life was cut short, fulfilling the only two commandments for that, which is the reward. Explain it to me. And what do the rabbis say? He will get his reward, if not in this world, then in the world to come. So the whole idea of the world to come is going to be needed as Jews 2,000 years ago are living lives of pain and suffering in the hands of cruel enemies and needing incentive and motivation to do Jewish things, holy things. And the incentive is going to be, according to the rabbis, well, you're not going to get your reward in this world. You're going to get your reward in the next world. And so the medieval mind, as Abravanel reflects, still asks the question, if this is the case, then why is it in the Torah it doesn't say your reward is going to be the promise of perfection of your soul in the world to come? There is no reward in the Torah for immortal soul. It doesn't even talk about what happens to us after we die. And people want to know, like Abravanel, isn't this the ultimate need that we must have, that our soul is eventually going to find some kind of a reward after all of this effort that we're putting in this life? So how do the rabbis respond? Well, I'll give you one response. There are many. Maimonides, you're familiar with his writings. He said, well, all right, so there are no material rewards in the Torah, but that's because all of the material blessings, there's no spiritual rewards. All of the material rewards in the Torah are to allow us to live a life where we would be able to eat and be able to thrive in order to allow us to be able to study and to learn the rules and the laws of the Torah so that we can make this world a better place. So yeah, it's going to be material rewards and not spiritual rewards. They will come, but right now you got to eat. So the question then that we need to ask as the contemporary minds, if the Torah says, and the rabbis later emphasize so much this idea of reward and punishment, is this something that we need to embrace? And I think not. I think a lot of us empirically see the world around us, and we see that a lot of people are not getting the rewards in this world, and we don't know about the world to come. And so all we can deal with is our lives today. And so what is a way of viewing life and rewards that will help our life have a little bit more meaning and give us a little bit more motivation to do what we do? And maybe the opposite of reward and punishment then would be a world in which we have consequences. And so if it's a world and a life of consequences, then we could say that that person didn't get cancer of the lungs because he was being punished for cruelty. It's because he was smoking. And the reason that the house burned down isn't because God is punishing you. It's because you were playing with matches. And we think about a world of consequences, and we see that what this means then is what we still do and what we still say counts. And it counts because of the ramifications of the life that we live, not because God is keeping a tally and is ultimately going to be giving us a reward or a punishment as a result of keeping that list. So ultimately, what is the lesson of the Torah portion this Shabbat, or at least for me? That if we do have a world of consequences, we still have a world that requires that we do good and that we shun evil. And the best way to figure out one from the other, what is ethical and what is moral, is to find that ethical and moral system that works best to be able to help us to bring a world of perfection. And that, for me at least, and for Jews in general, is going to be the Torah. And so we continue to study it because the reward is going to be the reward of being a good, kind person. And that is going to be a blessing for everybody in our orbit. We are now going to say a Misha Berach for those who are not well. I'll ask you to get your lists out. Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov V'Yimoteinu Saraf Garachavalea Hu Yavarech V'Rabbeinu Cholim. May he who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are sick. Let's start on this side, right? Phil Cooperman. And Fran Kabalnik. Thank you. Mo? Thank you. Other names? Claire? Lou? Thank you. Judy? Thank you. Jordan? Paula Pistol. Thank you.
Sylvia and Jake Tarika, Mel Slochin, Phyllis Schroeder.
Thank you.
This is from Janet Kirschbaum, Richard Kirschbaum, Sherry Rosenstein, Mark Kirschbaum, Richard Johnson, Grant Hochman, Shira Farber, Faggy Farber. And I have Ellen Lowe, Jane Apson, Linda Scharf, Bonnie Ritter, Jill Powell, Nancy Arkin, Bob Stein.
Thank you. Are there any other?
And Nadav Sella.
Thank you. Are there other names of people that you would like to mention? Anybody on Zoom? David Rader.
Elizabeth Rader, Daniel Rader, Gail Chevelle, Ehud Gelb.
Thank you, David. Other names? Please wave at the camera or signal in some way. Did we get everybody? Okay. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishlach lehem bimheira refuat hanefesh v'refuat haguf b'toshach leYisrael v'nomar amen May the merciful restore these people to full health and to full vigor, along with all others who are stricken with illness. And let us say amen. A prayer for the United States. Harachaman hu yivarech et artzot habrit v'yagen aleha. May God bless the United States of America and protect her. Before we have our prayer for the state of Israel, thank you, Stan, for sharing this. Researchers at the Faculty of Biotechnology and Food Engineering at the Technion Israel Institute of Technology in Haifa have developed bionic bacteria that have many potential applications in industry. Apparently, nanoscale semiconductor particles are usually produced in chemical processes that demand high temperatures and organic solvents. In the new Technion study, the researchers were able to create, using engineered proteins, an environment that makes possible the growth of nanometer particles under biological conditions and at room temperatures. In turn, the grown nanoparticles can lead to light-induced processes of biological components. So I think we're all gratified to learn about this, because I know I myself have been very curious as to when they finally were going to be able to come up with this. Thank you, Stan. And we are now going to please rise for a prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tur Yisrael v'goalo, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Geulatenu. And if our Hagbah and Galila could please come forward, we shall return the Torah to its resting place. V'zot haTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Ye Yisrael, ye Yisrael v'yoraita tadahu. Ye Yisrael, ye Yisrael, v'yoraita chadhu. Torah, so undo that. And I just bring it all the way around and do it. Ora, hallelujah. Torah, Torah, ora, hallelujah. Torah, Torah, hallelujah. Eitz chayim hi lama chazikim ba v'tomcheha meyushar. Noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Ashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. And we continue with Musaf. Yitgadal, Yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Yomadi Brachirute, V'yimlichmachute, V'chayechon Uvyomechon, Uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, V'yimaru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mivorach, Leolam, Leol, Meomaya. Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vipar, B'Truma, Miraseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemedi Kudisha, Berichu, Le'ela, Mikol Berchata, V'shirata, Tush Bechata, V'nechemata, Damiran V'alma, V'yimaru, Amen. We continue with Musaf. Take 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, put our heels together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol v'zocher chasdei avot u'mevi goel livnei v'neihem leman shemo b'yava melech ozer u'moshia u'magein Baruch atah Adonai Magein Avraham Atah gibor li'olam Adonai Mechaye metim atah Rav L'hoshia Mechalkel chayim b'chesed Mechaye metim berachamim rabim Somech nofelim v'rofei cholim O matir asurim O mekayem emunato lishenei afar Micha mocha bal givurot umido melach melech meimit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'amanat al hachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hametim Naritzcha v'nakadishcha kisotziach Sarfei kodesh hamakadishim Shimcha bakodesh kakatuv Hayad neviacha v'karazel zeviyamar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai tzvot Meloch ol haaretz kivodo Kivodo malei malei olam Mishartav shoalim shoalim zelazeh Aye mikom mikom kivodo Aye mikom mikom kivodo Liyumatam baruch yomeru Baruch kivod Adonai mimkomo Mimkomo yifen Uyifen berachamim v'yachonam hamyachadim shemo erev avoker bechol yom tamid pamayim yava shema omrim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad O Eloheinu Avinu Malkeinu O Avinu Malkeinu O Moshienu V'hu Yashmienu Berachamav Sheni li'enei kol chai, v'hu yashmienu berachamav. Sheni li'enei kol chai, liot lachem l'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. U'divrei kodshecha katuv le'mor, yemloch Adonai li'olam, Elohayich Tzion, le'dor v'ador, hallelujah. Le'dor v'ador nagid godlecha le'netzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu le'yamush le'olam va'ed Yamel Kadova Kadosh Atabaruch Atadonai El HaKadosh. Please be seated. Yismechu b'malechutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat Oneg Shabbat Yismechu b'malechutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei Oneg Shabbat Mikadashei Mikadashei Shavi Shabbat Kulam Yisbe'u Vidangu Mituvecha Shabbat Yismechu B'malechutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu b'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Uvashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashta ho Shabbat. Chemdat yamim oto karata, zecher l'maseh v'reishit. And now, before we chant our concluding prayers, Jordan Pistol will share some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Not much to share this time. Our board meeting will be on Wednesday, June 1st at 7:30 p.m. at Helga's. Members may also attend via Zoom, but no pistachios will be served via Zoom. We're all tished out, so there'll be no tish. On Saturday, June 4th at 10:30 a.m. will be our Shabbat Torah study session at the Schroeder's. And by the way, June 4th will also be the 80th anniversary of the beginning of the Battle of Midway. Just because that's what I like. Our next Shabbat service will be on June 11th at 10:30 a.m. in person here in Rita's room and via Zoom. It will also be our second try at a very special birthday Shabbat. Does anybody else have anything to add to prolong this Shabbat? Oh, oh no, that's ritual. That's ritual. That's a ritual. Yeah, and TCM is not showing the story of Ruth. Turner Classic Movie. They're not. I mean, they're showing all war movies this weekend, but I don't think they're going to show the story of Ruth. No, yeah, sure. Sure. And when Hallmark shows their Hanukkah movies.
Actually, Torah study will be studying the holiday of Shavuot, what it means, as well as the Torah. Next week, four parts of the beginning of the book.
Will there be a showing of the story of Ruth? Okay. What about it?
What is it? What is birthday?
Who has a special birthday?
We know, but it's for posterity.
Oh, I see. Oh, for posterity. You mean what happens at Congregation Shir Ami doesn't necessarily stay with Congregation Shir Ami? Okay, yes, it will be Harvey Cohen's 100th plus 1 month birthday with celebration. Okay. Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah. Thank you, Jordan. So Stan reminded us that Shavuot is next weekend. Saturday night is the first night, and then Sunday and Monday. Monday is going to be Yizkor services all over the world. So find a congregation that you would like to go to. Temple Ramat Zion will be having their services as well as a tikkun that I'll be participating in. They've always been very generous in inviting our congregation to attend. And so that will be next Saturday night. And Stan will be sending out an email about it during the week, and you'll get more information about the program at Ramat Zion. Let us join together as we conclude this lovely service with Ein Kelo, with Adon, what are we up to? Ein Keloheinu, page 24. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemokeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadoneinu, Michemokeinu, Michemoshienu, Node, Leloheinu, Node, Ladonenu, Node, Lemokeinu, Node, Lemoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Makeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Makeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol,
לתקנו לה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונה. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אינו אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום להשבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. אוקיי, נקבל לך. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. However, if you are in mourning or observing yard site, remain standing as we observe these yard sites of the coming 2 weeks. Zichronam livracha. Blima Freilich, Alan Friedman, Philip Rader, Sam Zatz, Helen K. Finley, Sarah Lamke, Milton Stover, Louis Ruggie Miller, Phyllis Robinson, and Bertha Lipschultz. Are there names that I have neglected? Please raise your hands. Anybody on the wall? The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 25. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba v'yalma divrachi rutei v'yamlich machutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedechol Beit Yisrael v'agala u'v'zman kari v'yamiru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabam V'vorach Li'olam U'La'omei Omaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudesha B'richu La'ila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechemata Da'amiran B'alma V'imiru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imiru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imiru. Amen. Please be seated as we conclude our service with Adon Olam. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, B'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech, Shemo Nikra, V'acharei, Gichlot HaKol, Levado, Yimloch Torah, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra V'yeh Nasa B'chesed, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'acharei Gichlot HaKol,
Shabbat Shalom. You need to sing along with the first couple of words, just to make sure you're on track.
I'm gonna try to practice more. I mean, practice it a little more.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Look forward to our coming together again in a couple of weeks. Happy Shavuot and Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.